I could go, and Jeff raised the question earlier about why our work we had such a big turnout. And I wanted to make sure it was clear that it was due to Terry's effort, not anyone else's. Terry gets all the credit for the turnout.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you for being here.
I want to keep her on my good side.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
I know past experience.
I think that some members here of the steering group have a motion.
Yeah, I think the staff suggestions we went way too far without reviewing those because I think they're outstanding. I would make a motion that we adopt the staff suggestions and add goals to fit those staff recommendations as appropriate.
I agree. I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are you advocating of tossing everything on the
Above, yeah, because if you look, I mean, it replicates everything there is.
We should have started that.
We should have.
Other than implementing some of the detail, it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much, that's.
Yeah, that worked for me. And if you could just, we're at the discussion level, just as adding to the agenda. If we could give some direction to try to maybe pigeonhole these into 4 or 5 goals that really encompass all of them, if that would be possible. And my recommendation would be is to cover those main planet ingredients.
Yeah, municipality
Wildlife,
is separate
land.
from land and wildlife and, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of instructing staff to include all of these in their all staff recommendations.
We knew we had good staff.
Yeah.
And there it is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're done with that.
Yeah, one suggestion, staff might move that to the front next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Take a
made-
little more
I
credit.
think we told them
Don't
that.
be bashful.
Well, we did in debating internally before we brought this to you, feel it was very important that you understood what the existing IRWM structure was and what those goals and objectives were. And I have to give Uma the credit because when I read them, I went, wow, these are great too.
Yeah,
The 17 she put together,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's it. Okay, that brings us down to the project development and project solicitation form. And incidentally, we are gonna lose a couple people in 10 or 15 minutes, so we can cover
Yeah.
really important things that would be good.
Yeah, and I would be willing to facilitate, I mean, to allow him to call another meeting at some point. If we have to step up this process, the 2-month spread is, I mean, I'm willing.
Have a monthly meeting.
Yeah, whatever you need to, if you need to get some of this stuff done, so you guys can move forward. It makes more sense to call a special meeting and get something done for you guys.
Especially if you're moving.
Yeah, so we're not, so we're not holding you up.
Holding you back.
I agree.
Okay, so let's
So on
talk
the-
about project.
Goals and objectives, so the direction would be the staff to categorize those under certain goals. Should I email that out to the management group as a way to check it and then
Yes.
get comments and then send it out to the work groups?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if we have to come back, we have to do it.
So the project development and solicitation forms. The whole process, the project development process was introduced to the management group in November with direction to staff being to utilize the project development manual that was created by Burdick and Company and then to develop some project solicitation forms. So in your packet today is a draft project solicitation form with instructions for review and not so much consideration but discussion, and then staff would suggest sending that to the stakeholders, the work groups and the tribes for some feedback before approval.
You will notice in it, it does have objectives checked off.
So all of this process all comes together. We have to get the goals and objectives established, and we have to have a regional description that was drafted, and then the resource management strategy is selected, and then they all kind of fold into the project solicitation package. Because we'll need that information later for prioritizing.
so for right now, because these are gonna go to the work groups for comment, and we're not making a final adoption today. Unless everybody has had a chance to really look at them and study them, I would say probably the best thing, since now we all have nice hard copies to look at and write on, would be to go ahead and send them out to the work groups. Because we need the work groups input before
Because
we
they're
adopt
working with
these. Yeah, and there's no point in us spending a whole lot of time on something and then having the work group say, we hate it, we don't like it, we wanna do this or that. So I say let's get their input first, and then bring us more or less a final draft, I guess is the best way to put it. And then we can, at the next meeting, make a decision on it,
And simultaneously, we will review the
Right.
papers.
theoretically.
Any high points you touch on these?
We just, we try to make it as short as possible. It is lengthy, I mean, I think it's 6 or 7 pages long worth of forms, and questions, and they all are pretty much requirements of the DWR guidelines. So it's,
Right,
So,
so where's the
don't,
point?
don't comment when
Audience
we don't want.
Yeah.
Don't comment where you can.
That's right.
Tell us where that is and I'll shut up.
And the only thing I see just on the first page where it says project category, we're talking water supply, stormwater flood control, and resource restoration. I think instead of restoration, unless the word restoration is required, maybe just resource. Because some of the things we've talked about today don't come under water per se.
What if we list our goals there as opposed to those three?
That
And
could-
then they would check the box that they're working, to go to
Something
work.
like that, but
So it's more practically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What we're doing.
because
Yeah, because
we
those
may have,
categories are the same thing our goal's gonna be.
they should be.
You know, people, water, practice, resource stewardship. I mean, I bet you our goals will fit
Yeah.
all of those.
Yeah.
You get some
Those are
common-
in there, and then
Yeah.
it's the same,
Yeah.
we're talking apples and apples.
Yeah.
I totally agree, that's where our goal should be.
And restoration is too
After
restrictive.
staff does them,
Yeah,
they can put them there.
that's true.
Then staff, here, I got some other little projects, I'll talk to you after.
I hope you got money to
Yeah.
pay her.
Good staff.
Okay, so with that in mind, I think probably unless anybody objects, we'll let the work groups take their first stab at this and we'll come back to us.
With the modifications that she's gonna,
Right.
yeah,
Put our goals in.
yeah, goals.
When
Update
after
whatever.
she writes them.
Well,
Okay.
I think you'll have my assistance.
Oh,
good.
Oh, really?
Comment, yeah, input.
Well, and as Bill brought the next page, item 6, number 1, how the project contribute to the urban plan objectives. That's key in how we're gonna prioritize and reward.
Everything, yeah.
That's why the objectives are so,
Mhm. It does cover everything.
all those.
Okay,
Almost 17.
introduction.
Sure.
Oh,
Questions here. Just from the work group standpoint, since we're gonna have our next work group meeting on the 13th of February, would you expect then by your March meeting that you want that final, like, the final comments from our work group, like in our next meeting here, basically, do we need to put the like this project solicitation form, do you anticipate that, or would you the one to ask, so that, just so I can look at it?
So, yeah, there's a proposed timeline, that I'm trying to put together, and for us to stay on track,
So it's not a
then I think that we're going to need to, come to some decisions on the goals and objectives, the forms, and at least, get somewhere on
At the
the
next
description at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Like I
so,
said,
Okay, I
I'll
just
move
wanted to confirm
Yeah.
that, so I know what our duties are.
that.
How much food I need to bring to that
That's
day.
right.
Whether I need to go to lunch
Better
or
bring
Robin
dinner.
to come in.
breakfast, lunch,
Yeah, so
and
lunch
dinner.
or dinner. Just lunch.
I think too that our approach through the work groups would be to email these documents beforehand with lots of time given, so they can look through it and really make some comments and reviews.
Right,
That's my opinion.
and, yeah, I think that's the best way
I see
to
your
do it.
wife's gonna make sure that's.
Okay, so number 6, introduction to project selection and ranking criteria.
So this is just a brief introduction. The purpose of the project ranking and selection process is to identify the actions needed to meet our plan objectives. There needs to be a clear and consistent review process established. And that's in order to ensure that the project review process will include elements such as ensuring the project meets the minimum standards for inclusion in the plan per the Prop 84 guidelines. It's also a time to seek opportunities for integration. When we look through the projects, we can identify those that would work together for multi-benefit. And then to prioritize the projects by how well they meet the plan objectives and also how well they meet the grant program objectives.
Leah?
I have a question when we get to this resource management strategies. You know, the groups are all gonna select their key ones and then their maybes, you know, the overlapping areas. What about the ones that nobody selects? Can we get rid of them at some point?
Yeah.
When,
Because
because it would make this
That-
whole
that would-
project development of half of these that we weren't even thinking about would
Well, I
go
would
on.
say that, or we have to tell somebody that it's something that this board finds
Yeah, I think
necessary, then we'll have to just give it to somebody. Say,
that's
"Here
it.
you
You know,
go.
if it's, probably it'd be
Review it.
the steering group that would
I
decide
think
to
this,
get rid of them.
if the
Yeah, when
work
they come
groups
back and
didn't
they
select them, then doesn't it come back to you
It
guys
comes
and you
back
go?
to
we need to
you
review
do
them and see if they're
something?
And
appropriate
if
to
there's
place
still,
somewhere.
if there's still a hot item there, it goes back to some group.
Or
Or
you,
we
yeah,
get
however
rid
you do. So that to me is like in line with this whole project process and let's get, you know, maybe get some closure on that one.
That's it.
So we have that tentatively scheduled, that process tentatively scheduled for the 5th management group meeting. But it sounds like maybe we should move it up so we have to take care of the next meeting.
Yep.
So that it's.
Sure, everybody can move on.
If everybody's
It's done.
ready at that point, yeah.
Hopefully.
The faster we can move
We'll be here for a very
along.
long meeting next time.
Yeah, well, this one was under control.
Yeah. The faster we can move along, I think the better. Because I don't wanna get right to the end of having to close out the grant and not have stuff done. So if we move things ahead faster now, when we start running into problems at the end, which we always do, we'll have a little more time to
Unless
handle
we're
it.
just headed into the weeds.
I see that the disadvantaged community thing is still a big part of this process. And are we locked into that somewhat wacky map that we all looked at the municipal group, or is there some room to offend there? For those that missed it, many of places in the county that we would perceive as disadvantaged
Anticipate,
were not, and many places that you never thought were disadvantaged were on DWR's map.
Yeah, the map is
Like the Alamo Peninsula.
Is disadvantaged.
Yes.
You didn't know
I
that.
agree.
He's been telling me that for 3 years.
Wasn't Gold Mountain on there too? Colored orange?
I have a little bit of insight that we might want to follow up with. Tracy Billington was at a North Coast Resource Partnership meeting like this. She gave a presentation and her side comments were having to do with the new bond. And she said that there's some language they need help with, one of which had to do with the co-piece to disadvantaged communities has to do with economically challenged or something to that effect. And she says we need help. There's an opportunity to help her and give her what you need to meet the needs of your community outside of that map.
That's really a good suggestion,
What was the
because
language
honestly,
It was Tracy Billington. I'll provide the information to Uma, but it was something to do with economically challenged or something like that. It was something else, but it's not defined and they don't know what it means, so help them.
and that would be a very good point to engage in, because as you're saying, that map is not indicative of what's going on.
No.
That's good input.
And it's actually, I'm trying to get the percentage of poverty in the Alamo Basin right now for something that we're working on. And you can't, it's not broken down that small in
No, it isn't. And
rural
the census data that got released here a few weeks ago by the state to us, there's some very surprising levels or low income or not in our communities.
Yeah.
And that map looked like a 12th century map of the world.
Well, it probably was.
The second thing she said that was really useful, she also said innovative projects were going to be ranked higher, but she doesn't know what that means. This is an opportunity for us to think of what is an innovative project, so things that may not have been fundable before could be. But we want to get to them in the allocation part, she said, before they get to guideline suggestions.
Yeah, and that goes back to understanding everybody in the room understanding, we're speaking to an audience. And that's crucial.
Okay, just before we lose people, Let's skip ahead to the consent agenda so we can, adopt the minutes while we have it.
I will make a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that part's done, now you guys can split. If you trust us not to split.
The next meeting date.
Nice to meet you.
Like I said, if 20 calling up March.
I'll be back in touch. I have some notes I may have to
So there
call
was some, Katrina has like a new class schedule, so maybe we should discuss the times for the next meeting before.
Well, I actually thought this one was gonna be at 1 o'clock until I saw the agenda. So, and I think your schedule is, you're available in the afternoon.
Yes, the class gets on at 11.
So I say, let's start at 1. And the good thing about that is for people that have to travel from out of the area, it gives them a chance to not have to drive here at 4 in the morning.
Would it screw you up because Wednesdays are bad for me in the afternoon? Would a Thursday work?
Fine.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
That's your
So-
classes, Monday, Wednesdays?
No, those are the, I have classes until 5 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Oh, yeah.
So you're available Monday,
You
Wednesdays,
teaching on
and Friday.
Wednesday afternoons?
What about Friday?
How about Friday?
Friday's good.
Friday's good.
Friday?
Thursdays are.
When you're in the field.
I'm gonna be in the field. Everybody else I know is in the field on Friday.
Have fun.
So Friday the 27th at what
At
time?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
We,
Okay.
then we're gonna have dinner when we get in.
Yeah, I like that.
We're out there.
What, is that February?
That's March.
March.
March 27th at 1
Oh,
I missed who
Oh, my goodness.
It
It just
Who
dawned
was
on
the second on consent?
me. Usually I write it down a few times before I get it.
Sherry, do you remember who the second on consent was? Was it
Bill,
Bill?
okay, so we
That's a
got the
very
next
big
meeting. And the consent agenda, is there anything else that we need to cover before we leave everybody?
Are we okay with, we've gone far enough, the introduction to selection criteria? Would you like to cover that?
I was just gonna go through a brief overview of it, and then, just staff will be developing some suggested ranking criteria that we can at least look at at the next meeting. We are doing a really busy next meeting, so, I don't know, if it's a quick introduction to the next meeting, I think, and then, bring the selection, a draft criteria to be followed,
Okay,
and I think we should still be on track.
okay, well, I see that.
Okay.
And I'll get on my steering group members not to be scheduling trips to Sacramento.
That's
And a lot of this can be updated through the process again.
right.
It's just review comment.
So the other item was the next meeting topics. If you want to review those, we've kind of gone through them already and developed them somewhat today. Confirming that the next meeting will be in this room again? Is that
I
right?
think so,
Okay.
yeah, do that.
So we'll have the tentative topics of the work group updates, to look at the goals and objectives with the feedback from the work groups. Look at the review and comment on the draft regional description. And then look at the project solicitation package for tentative approval. And then I had looked at the draft project selection and ranking criteria. That may be the introduction more, and I'll try to draw some forms out just for initial review. And then to schedule the project solicitation public meetings and the work group integration workshop.
I think that's probably about all we're gonna be able to handle, keep our sanity.
That's all I had.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Very good.